Hello, and welcome back. I'm Corvus with the Apologetics. We are on our 5th run of our passive run while doing Apologetics. This time we already have everything all queued up. This will still run if it's in the background, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Got everything all queued up this time, so we don't have to get into it.
Circus of values.
Find your cravings at the Circus of Values. Do anyone remember what we were doing last time? Oh yeah, we're up here again. We just, Corey, your help is just beyond measure.
I think he meant what attempting to do.
No, we got the eternal flame. I'm pretty sure.
Is this burning an eternal flame?
Check your plasma to see if you got the flame.
Yeah,
We got that a while ago.
Okay, and then you got the telekinetic.
Yep.
Oh yeah, so we gotta go bust open that door.
Oh, you just got the camera.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, you just got the camera.
That's right. Okay.
Oh yeah. You got the camera, so now I have to take a bunch of pictures.
I think we need to write down where you're at, or watch the end of the previous video.
Wait, what was the refill health? Here I'm trying to save all this.
Setup and
yeah, I know.
Just jump right into setup.
It'd be cool if they had a passive run setting or something like that.
All right, so why don't you just start asking the next.
Cool.
Start asking the next question.
Okay, first question.
Or the first question.
Oh, sorry. Next question.
First question.
It's a continuation of the series.
Okay.
To all religious scientists, why are you religious, and how do you construe any contradictions between your religion and your field of science? Sub-question or explanation. Do you find it intellectually dishonest, as a career is based in the scientific method and evidence, and your religion is based on faith, which is contradictory to what you study?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
I was
sorry.
I also botched that.
Okay, sorry, read it again.
Do you find it intellectually dishonest? As your career is based on the scientific method and evidence.
Oh, is this just directed at scientists?
Yes.
Okay. Continue though. I will answer it because I am a philosopher of science. I'm not. This is not one of my major. There's fall damage in this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
We got shot while you're.
That's true. Okay, sorry. Continue. Start over with the explanation again.
Do you find it intellectually dishonest? As your career is based on the scientific method and evidence, and your religion is based on faith, which is contradictory to what you study.
Okay. That's it? Is that it?
That was the further explanation of their.
Okay. Okay. First of all, what do you say? Read what he said about faith.
Your career is based on the scientific method and evidence, and your religion is based on faith, which is contradictory to what you study. Okay.
Well, so first of all, he doesn't understand what faith is. Faith basically means trust. Now, if somebody comes up to you on the street, you don't know who they are, and they hand you this, cup of water or this cup, and they say, "Hey, listen, just don't think about it. Just trust me. Just drink this." Now, would you drink it? Well, no, because you'd have no reason to trust this person, or even why they would have you do that in the first place. Now, suppose that the person you're closest with in the world, like a best friend or a parent or something, they come up to you and they say, "Hey, listen, I don't have time to explain. Just drink this." Now, would you do it? Most likely, unless they were super sketch at some point in your life. My point is if you trust somebody, you're going to do what they say. So that's the biblical notion of trust. Simply means that it means faith, or the biblical notion of faith simply means that it just means to trust. Now, it has devolved, it kind of goes back to Enlightenment, Kierkegaard's, his leap of faith, and even some people think that he was being facetious at that. He was saying, "Oh yes, there's no evidence, so you just got to take a blind leaping faith." But some scholars I've read, they even say that it really doesn't mean what you think it means, because if you go back and read his writings, he doesn't really rely on faith in the sense that we think about today. Do I need anything in here, Corey? I mean, it's just they have the gun upgrade underneath, which I don't need because I'm not going to.
I think you're just supposed to take pictures. I think.
Where's the? I'm not going to hack that. No, I don't need to. I just need to go back to Dude Bro now that I have the camera, right?
No, you have to get telekinesis.
I have it.
Oh yeah, then you're good.
So we need to go back.
Oh, and then
because we opened up that. Yeah. So now we need to go back to where Dude Bro gave us the rocket launcher. So yeah, I would just say that. So his initial notion of faith is off. Second of all, now J.P. Moreland. If you guys have never read J.P. Moreland, read him. He's just a prolific philosopher. He almost did his PhD in one form of chemistry, and probably the best. I mean, Philosophical Foundations of the Christian Worldview was written by him and William Lane Craig. It's a brilliant book. But J.P. Moreland, I took several classes from him. I took metaphysics, philosophy of mind. I already went down here, didn't I? Yeah. I took metaphysics, philosophy of mind, and what else did I take from him? I don't know. I took a bunch of classes from him, but he knows way more about philosophy of science, and so I'm just gonna kind of give you some answers that he would probably give you. But I would first of all check out his book called Christianity and the Nature of Science. Now, science has devolved into meaning that which is completely devoid of religious influence, which is absurd because if that definition follows, then science has only been going on for 150 years. If science is devoid of the religious, or that's another thing too, is people just take religion, or they take science to be identical to Darwinian evolution. Science is not identical to Darwinian evolution. To limit science to that, and to say someone is anti-scientific if they deny it, that doesn't follow. But anyways, his book of Christianity and the Nature of Science, I'm not going to try and sum it, but I would say go and check it out. It's just really a brilliant book. But in it, he spends the first 100. Where am I going? I don't even remember how to go. He spends the first 100 pages trying to define science, and he basically says that it's impossible to it's to the point now where it's almost impossible to define. And if you try to define it on too narrow of a terms, I mean, think about it. If you try to, so he's talking about empirical data, but philosophy of science is more than or is what was the he said what was the terminology the guy used in the question, in the answer?
That
scientific method,
based on scientific method and evidence.
There's several. I mean, there's many different scientific fields that you if you take anthropology. Anthropology would be considered a science, but it doesn't have this. It's not the same type of science as you would see with chemistry or biology.
It doesn't deal with the repeatable.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to get at. So you can't really. So he argues you can't really define science. Now the question is, can you be a scientist and still hold to religious views? And I would say yes. In fact, you are dependent on, in a sense, the religious views. And here's what I mean by that. Even by participating in the what's the scientific process again? Why do I keep on forgetting
Scientific method?
The scientific method. You are predicating all of your scientific work on the notion of repeatability. But repeatability, we should only expect that in a universe that has normative, what should I say? You would only expect there to be repeatability in a world that is properly ordered. Now, if the universe is not properly ordered, you would have no reason for there to think that there would ever be any sort of repeatability or any sort of standards. But the very fact that we live in a universe that is not chaotic but is ordered is proof that of one of the proofs for an intelligent designer. So I would say that the whole scientific method is predicated on this notion of the universe being dependable and repeatable. And that's another thing too is, a scientist can create an entire worldview based off of the universe having having at its origin an irrational cause. Like, for example, so some scientists can say, yeah, I hold that the universe is based on an irrational cause. And if someone creates a series of scientific thoughts from the universe, based on the universe being irrational, well, why should we listen to that person? He's basically saying the whole universe is irrational, but even though the whole universe is irrational, listen to what I'm saying because it's rational. Well, why should I listen to what you're saying? Everything you're just saying that if everything in the universe has at its core an irrational cause, why should we expect rational effects? Irrational causes have irrational effects. Rational causes have rational effects. Now, we see in this universe a series of rational effects. So since we see rational effects in the universe, we should know then that the whole universe is the product of a rational cause. Just that simple. And then the other thing I'll say from this, so I'll say you can't even do science in a world unless it's rational, but in order for it to be rational, it has to have a rational cause. I mean, good luck looking for rational effects in a world or a universe that's not based on a rational cause. Ugh. The other thing I'll say is, let me say this one quick thing. So, was it G.K. Chesterton? No, it wasn't G.K. Chesterton. Where was that from? I don't know. I forget who it was, but he was talking about how Robert Oppenheimer and Alfred what was his name? Alfred Oppenheimer and I can't remember his name. Something Head. What was his name? Anyways, but these are two atheist guys, and they both argued that the modern scientific revolution could not have come about unless it was first predicated on. It was basically because of Christianity that the modern scientific notion came about. I mean, look at the founders of modern science. We have Kepler, Bacon, Pascal. I mean, all those guys were brilliant. I mean, Pascal, arguably, maybe Leibniz. Pascal or Leibniz are probably the two most brilliant people ever to live, well, except Jesus. I mean, we can't, that's cheating if you include him. But, Leibniz or Pascal are probably the two most brilliant guys ever to live. But
give Pascal a longer life than being flying cars, right?
Yeah, really. But yeah, and then Pascal, Bacon, Kepler, all the founders of modern science, and they were all not only theists but Christians nonetheless. Do we have to go this way?
I don't know, maybe.
We're almost at 15 for this question.
Okay, so I would just say that. So this whole thing is just predicated on false notions, and it's just this whole idea of you have to deny any sort of religious inclinations in order to be a scientist, which is just absurd. That has only been acceptable for maybe 100 years. I mean, it really is. You have Hume kind of started down that road, but even he would not deny the existence of God. And it's not until you do, who's the dude, the brilliant mathematician guy?
There's only one?
No, the atheist brilliant mathematician guy who said if God asked him why he didn't believe in him, and he said not enough evidence. I forget his name. No, not AJ Ayer. I forget. I'll put it in the links. We'll look it up later. Okay, go ahead and ask the next question. I'm going to look for where the help button is.
Where the help button is?
Yeah.
You need help?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm like, where do we go next? Because I'm tired of running around.
One last plug on that question. For people that have shorter attention spans and don't want to go out and read.
Oh, you said someone had a good response?
Oh, it was long.
Oh, okay.
It was good, though. But anyone that's curious, go look up the YouTube channel Smarter Every Day. Destin is a staunch Christian. Does not hide it. Yeah, every video ends with a verse.
That's cool.
He also has a talk that I'll post. He was invited to SkepticCon as their token Christian, and it's wonderful. He
Really?
has atheists thanking him for what he does in the comments. It's beautiful. But it just gives you... He does a really good job of giving people perspective on that specific question.
Corey, you were right. I need to take pictures of the splicers.
Splicers, no splicing.
So that's one of them, right?
You'd already taken one.
Yeah. So that's
I think,
two.
one of the
Yeah.
spider splicers.
So and then
Yeah,
where
you
was
have to-
where was the other one at? Said. See, there are three. One who crawls in ceilings. If you do this, preach will let you finish.
That's the question. Go.
So
There we
I just
go.
got to find some more spider splicers then. Okay.
Okay, so next question is, what other anonymous sources have written historical accounts that feature miracles, magic, supernatural events?
Wait. Read that again.
What other anonymous sources have
He's looking for an anonymous source.
We'll get into that. And we'll probably throw out that.
Okay.
But
Go ahead.
have written historical accounts that feature miracles, magic, supernatural events that Christians take literally.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
he has...
So he wants an anonymous source.
Well, it's because he believes we don't know
Read-
who wrote
did he-
Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John.
Do you have an explanation?
For the whole question or for what I just said?
Just read
No, you're fine, you're fine.
his follow-up explanation.
It's long, so I'm going to jump around and summarize a little bit. Christians, I don't know. Yeah. Christians admit they don't know who wrote the canonical Gospels, Mark, Matt, Luke, and John.
Oh, really?
Apparently.
Okay.
This does not cause a problem believing it reliable, apparently, since Christianity is bigger than ever.
All right.
Some sentence structure issues there.
Okay.
The gospel feature miracles, like when Jesus died,
All
and
right.
there
That's
was
enough.
a...
That's enough. Okay. So, have you guys seen the new Lethal Weapon show?
No.
Okay, it's actually pretty good, and it was I didn't want to like it, but then I saw that Damon Wayans is in it, and I love Damon Wayans. You know, going back to the old school In Living Color, and so I was like, okay, Damon Wayans is in it. I'll give it a shot, and I've been really liking it. But anyway, so it's funny. They finally introduced the Leo Getz character, Joe Pesci's character, and the cops come to see him, and they say, "What were you doing yesterday morning at 5 a.m. at Donuts? And he looks at him and he says, "I'm going to go out on a limb here, guys. I'm going to tell you that I was having donuts." I say that to say, when they say, "We don't know who wrote Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John," it's like, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it was probably, I don't know, Matthew, maybe Mark, probably Luke, and then for the final one, I'm going to have to go with John. Now, how do we know that? Well, we have sources both internally and externally. You have other portions in the New Testament, the epistles, that talk about the authorship of, talks about the apostolic authority of the gospel writers that are confirmed there. We also have Acts. Now, I don't know, I'm sure there's, again, probably Bob Price probably denies it. You can find some people that question the legitimacy of Acts. But I don't know of anybody who really questions when Acts was written. Now, think about this. So, Kyle, if you're going to write a book about downtown Manhattan, and let's say that you write it this year, would you title this book about downtown Manhattan, Downtown Manhattan and the Glorious Twin Towers? Would you?
Not if I was making a legitimate...
Exactly. Well, why
even
would...
though you're trying to pretend it's a legitimate historical book.
Yeah, so it wouldn't make sense because everyone knows that, the Twin Towers, they got knocked down in 2001. So look at the Book of Acts. Now, what major 9/11 / event is missing from the book of Acts.
Destruction of the temple.
The destruction of the temple.
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of a huge deal. Okay, so what year was the temple destroyed?
70 AD.
70 AD, which means Luke had to have written Acts before 70 AD. Now, if he wrote Acts, and in Acts he says, "Dear Theophilus, the former account which I sent to you," when would he have to have written the former account of which I sent to you? Well, obviously before. And what was the former account of which I sent to you? It was the Gospel of, wait for it, Luke.
Yeah.
So by 70 AD, we know that I am just running around.
Yes, you are.
We gotta get going on this. How do I get out of this area? Maybe do I have to?
We gotta.
Well, there were some stairs you didn't go down, or that's where you just came from. Never mind.
Yep.
Yeah. I just gotta figure out how to get out of here. It's so difficult not being able to kill people. So I would say that. So right away, it's very difficult to date, especially Acts, late, unless you're just gonna say, Emmett, the only way you really can get around the dating of the Gospels is just to kind of be like Robert Price and just deny everything. But I can go into, if somebody asks about it, but there's no valid philosophy of history that you can do that you can properly employ to deny those dates. It just comes with I am doubting it, and I'm doubting it because I can doubt it, and that's it. So no. Oh wait, is there one in here? I bet you there is in here.
There is. I'm just looking for the spider splicers.
Oh. Is he down there?
He's down that hall, yeah.
No, he's not. Oh, there he is. Yeah.
He never
Okay,
listens
now.
to me.
I got him. Thank you, Corey. So right away, I would say that the authorship of the Gospels both has internal evidence for them being Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and it has external evidence. Polycarp? Well, first of all, the Apostolic Fathers. If you're not aware of the Apostolic Fathers, those were the people who, think of it this way, they are like the disciples of the disciples. They were the apostles, of the apostles. So, and it's very interesting because almost no major heresies came about until after the Apostolic Fathers had passed. Because they would be like, someone would come along and say, oh, this is what the Apostle John taught. And then, Polycarp or Ignatius or Clement would be like, no, he didn't. You know how we know? We learned from him, and he never taught that. So you don't see the only major heresies that you see is a form of Gnosticism, but the Gnosticism that you hear about in the Bible is very different than the Gnosticism that you see later on. I mean, I don't want to get into the different types of Gnosticism, but some people tend to believe that there's only one type of Gnosticism, and that that since it was mentioned in the Bible, that is the same type. It's like, no, because the early Gnosticism was pro-Jewish. The later Gnosticism was very anti-Jewish. So we have internal evidence, and then the external evidence is with the Apostolic Fathers. And the Apostolic Fathers, they wrote at the end of the first century, and they, by the end of the writings of the Apostolic Fathers, they had quoted nearly 90% of the New Testament in their writings.
It's at least.
It's something like that. And so it's funny. So I talk to these guys, and they'll be like, the Gospels weren't written until like the 3rd century. And I was like, really? Like, yeah, you didn't know that? I was like, no. I was like, well, how did Clement of Rome quote from something that was written 150 years after he died? And they're like, wait, what? So yeah. So what was the question even about? I don't even remember now. Oh, he says since the...
So it's really poorly worded. People have pointed that out and finally got down to what he actually means is essentially, are there other books that Christians accept, other writings that Christians accept that feature miraculous events?
Oh, okay. But what was it with the... So, like, okay, I'm going to go back and talk about the anonymous thing real quick.
He just has a huge bias.
It's like, okay, so you have these guys that were like, oh yeah, this was written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It has this internal evidence, external evidence, and you don't really see this doubted until the German higher criticism of the 18th century. And so for 1800 years, nobody was doubting this, and then all of a sudden he's like, well, I don't know if we can really believe that Matthew wrote Matthew and Mark and Luke wrote Luke. I mean, that's absurd. All right, how do I get him to aggro? Can I aggro him without hitting him, Corey? Because
no. No.
The only immediate way would be to hit him or do something with little sister.
Well, if you hit him because you're doing the password, so you can't.
Oh, there he goes.
There he goes. Yeah.
How did?
If you hack the you need to hack the turret.
So can I shoot proximity mines as his feet? Does that count?
No.
No. That is towing the line.
It is.
You just need to hack the thing that's in there with you.
Well, it's already hacked.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, but it's just, those things can't kill him. It's going to take forever. So I would say, so it's so funny. It's like he wants anonymous sources when for 1800 years, everyone was like, oh yeah, this is who.
You're in the middle of a battle right now.
That's fine. I got my health packs.
Is it that he wants something
Yeah,
other than in the Bible?
So now what he wants is then for this. So now the question is do we have external sources that were from a close enough time range to confirm the miraculous events of the Bible? Yes and no. We don't have a lot of them confirming the miraculous parts. You have Josephus. Now, he doesn't confirm any miraculous stuff. And in fact, there's actually three different... Josephus has about three different strands of sayings that are attributed to him. And each one of them is... The only difference between the three different sayings is the level of personal agreement he has between each of the passages. For example, in one of them he says where there was a man named Jesus, and then in one of the versions it says there was a man named Jesus if it was right to call him a man. And so the only difference is he confirmed that Jesus lived. I'm just going to set it right like here. So he sees it coming, right? He can see that. He's not blind.
What you're saying is if he walks into it, it's his own fault.
Yeah, it's not like I'm shooting it at his feet.
But
No way! Oh, that's horrible.
See, they can detect friendly.
Okay, so maybe I... But how did we aggro him last time? Just if he pushes you enough, does he just get mad? What was he talking about?
You have to get close to the little sister, I think, maybe.
Someone who...
Oh, okay, so yeah. So Josephus talked about Jesus, but he didn't really talk about any of the any miraculous stuff. Now, I'm willing to take out all of Josephus's personal embellishments and say that those were added later, and he's still a good source. Now, but you have Tacitus, Emperor Trajan, Emperor Hadrian. Tacitus was considered the greatest Roman historian of all time. But I'll tell you this, we do have, again, it's not an anonymous source because anonymous source doesn't make sense, but we have Thales. Now, Thales is a great source for a miracle because, number one, he was not a Christian, and he was actually wrote because he wanted to disprove Christianity. And in his writing, he says that we need to find a naturalistic account for the darkness that appeared over the land when Jesus was said to have been crucified. And so it's so funny because he was trying to disprove Christianity, but when he did that, he ended up giving us a great piece of information. There's a notion that's called enemy attestation, and this idea is, if your mom says something nice about you, that's one thing, but if someone who doesn't like you says something nice about you, then we're more likely to believe that person, because if they don't really like you, why would they say something nice about you? Like, for example, if someone were to go up to, like, Nikia and say, like, Nikia, Nikia, she thinks I'm cool, so that wouldn't work. But let's say there's this person, let's say there's an hey. But let's say we go up to this person and we just say, what do you think of Matt? Do you think he's a good philosopher? And this anti-Nikia person says, you know what, that Matt guy, he's so arrogant and cocky, and he thinks he's good at Bioshock, and but look at him. He's taking forever, and he's just annoying. He talks too much. He likes gaming too much. But dang, that guy is a good philosopher. Now, if you were to go up to my mom and say...
You finally found it.
I know, right? And you were to go up to my mom and say, hey, is Matt a good philosopher? And she'd be like, oh, my sweetie pie Matt, of course that he is just the greatest philosopher on earth. Well, who would you, in this case, who would you believe? Well, you're more likely to believe the anti-Nicaea because that person doesn't really like me, so they would have no reason to embellish. Whereas my mom, she loves everything about me, and so she will embellish. So enemy attestation, in this case, works a lot in our favor because Thales was not trying to prove Christianity and anything, he was trying to disprove it. However, in trying to disprove it, he proves that the miraculous aspect that occurred in the Bible, namely that darkness appeared over the land when Jesus died, that people did know about that and had experienced it, and he says, we need to figure out what that was. So it's so funny because in trying to disprove Christianity, I need to switch this up. All he did was prove that this event occurred, and he was trying to say, how can we admit this happened without admitting that it happened?
You have 9 minutes left.
Okay.
So 40 minutes.
So I'm going to kind of like morph this into another question.
So wait, did I answer that one good enough? Is that one's...
That was
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't we have miracles anymore? Which also kind of goes along with the previous one of are there any sources,
Could you hand me those 2 books?
additional sources that Christians believe in that talk about
I want to
miracles?
say miracles.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, first of all, this is just huge amounts of presupposition. So he's, and this is circular reasoning, and C.S. Lewis talks about this. You're fine. C.S. Lewis talks about this, is when it comes to miracles, there's always circular reasoning employed. Because someone says, well, why don't you think miracles occur? And they say, well, miracles don't occur because they haven't occurred. Why don't you think that miracles have never occurred? Because they don't occur. So here's a book, was it Craig Kinnear? Is that his last name? First name? Craig? Yeah, Craig Kinnear. He wrote this 2-volume set on miracles. And in this, it's so funny. They did double-blind prayer studies. Could you imagine signing up for a double-blind prayer study is this. So there's these people who, they had like terminal cancer. And so they went up to them and say, hey, do you want us to pray for you? And they said, yes, please pray for you. But in order for there to be a double-blind study, there has to be a control group or a placebo group. So there's these people who are dying. I'm sorry, I don't have to laugh at this. But there's these people who are like dying of these diseases who asked for prayer, but there needed to be a control group, and so they didn't pray for them.
That's just, it's so absurd.
Oh my goodness.
I know, but they had to do that to see if the prayer made a difference. And they found that it did have a measurable distance between those who received prayer and those who didn't.
That is terrible.
I know, but you have to do it. It's, quote unquote, for science. But could you imagine that? It's like, sorry, we have to make sure that that this is legit. Okay, now Corey, correct me if I'm wrong. I have to fight people here. Okay.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Because you have to fight the guy who throws those flaming bombs at you.
But, yeah. Okay, so right away I would say 2 things. Number one, this is based on a presupposition. The presupposition is the idea that miracles don't occur. And you base that off of miracles can occur. And you base off miracles can occur by going back to saying they don't occur. So right away, this is based on a presupposition. Second of all, you do have works like Kinnear's book, which was just thoroughly done. Now, some of the stuff in there, I was like, if a person of another religion claimed this with this evidence, I would doubt it. So I was skeptical on some stuff, but a lot of it is very well documented and well researched as well. So I would say, number one, that's based on presupposition, and then number 2, it's just flatly false. So what was the second part of the question?
That was it.
Oh, I thought it was okay, that was it. So it's just like, why are there not miracles today?
Yeah, well, they're basically saying because in Bible days there were crazy miracles all the time. Where are the records of crazy miracles after the Bible times?
Okay. And then another thing I would say about that as well, I can't hack that, can I? Because it's too far away. I would say this, remember too, I meant there are times where miracles come and ebb and flow. Gideon in Book of Judges, he had an angel come before him, and what was the first thing that he said to the angel? He's like, hey, where are all these signs and wonders that our great-grandfathers were talking about? You've just left us to die. Or, it's like, basically he's asking, what's going on. So there is an ebb and flow of miracles. But just because there's an ebb and flow of miracles, it doesn't mean anything. And then also, too, the greatest, most historically attested miracle of all time is the resurrection of Christ. And what does the book of Hebrews say? Hebrews 1, God at various times in times past spoke to the fathers through the prophets, has in his last days spoken to us through his Son, who's created heir over all things. So I would say that, if anything, just focus on the resurrection, because you can actually, this was what one of my current professors, Gary Habermas, we don't have time to get into minimal facts argument, but he wanted to write on the resurrection for his doctoral dissertation. And so he went before the committee and said, I want to write on the resurrection. And they said, okay, you can do it, but you can't use the Bible as a primary source. And so he was like, wait, what? How am I supposed to do this? And he did it. And that's how he developed the minimal facts argument.
And he did it with one of the members being a Jewish rabbi.
Oh, he did? I didn't know that.
That was Habermas, right?
Yeah, probably. I don't know if he was on it, but yeah, so...
Oh, yeah, it was Habermas, because he was so nervous. He did it, and the rabbi was really easy on him, and afterwards he was like, I thought you were going to be hard on me. He's like, no, you did a really good job. There's so much evidence for it.
So I would say, right there, don't focus on these various random accounts of miracles. I would say, if anything, just focus on the resurrection, because all of Christianity rises and falls on the resurrection. People ask me, they say, give me a falsification factor for Christianity. I'd be like, pray for me the rotting corpse of Jesus, because if he died in the grave, all of Christianity is nothing. Let's get one more question in there. I talked a lot.
Till 40.
Okay.
This is going to be... I have a fun little small question.
Okay.
Are the teachings of Islam pro-feminism?
Oh, shut up. Is that serious? Is it a troll question?
No, it's a serious question. If you say Islam is pro-feminist, then I ask... Well, they're assuming it isn't, so they'll put...
Okay.
So they're asking, can women do the same thing as men 100%? That is to say, if men are allowed to go topless, are women allowed? If men can have multiple wives, can women have multiple husbands? If you say no to any of these serious questions, how can you say Islam is pro-feminist?
Oh, it's not. In fact, it's...
Yeah, actually.
Again, it's, I said this before. Everything that these feminists and skeptics, they think Christianity is, Islam actually is. And there's just no way to get around it. It is just a horribly sexist religion. And read Muhammad. He had, first of all, he said in the Quran you can only have 4 wives. He had more than 4 wives. He had a 9-year-old wife. Don't worry though, he waited until she was 12 before he consummated their marriage. So it's just, if you think that's pro-feminism, now what's happened is the feminists have kind of joined up with the Muslims as like, oh, we are both downtrodden and we are both, minorities, and so let us unite together in solidarity for each other. And that's kind of how it began. But the problem is, go to one country that has a predominant Muslim population or is governed by Sharia law, and any notion that you have that Islam is feminist would immediately diminish. Oh, I'm gonna hack that bot. I should go hack that one with the remote one. Okay, so that's it.
1 minute till 40.
Boom. Okay, that's it. All right. So I talked a lot, like always. Hold on. I wanna do this. We'll just beat it next time.
It's a good stopping point. You know exactly where you're at.
Okay.
The remote hack darts aren't until the second batch.
No. But I have the plasmid. Remember?
Oh, that's right.
It's funny. We both said the opposite thing to each other in a previous video. Okay. So you guys, make sure you keep telling people to like and subscribe. Keep fighting good fights. Keep defending the faith, preaching the gospel. It's Corvus with Apologetics, with Kyle, Nakia, and Brosif. All right, you guys, take care, and God bless you.